Good afternoon and welcome. What a great turnout. My name is Holly Blake, and I'm the director of the Women Involved in Living and Learning, or WIL program, here at the University of Richmond. And we are honored to have Dr. Belinda Anderson, president of Virginia Union University, with us this afternoon, and look forward to her insights into the discussion that will follow. This is a special year for the three co-sponsors of this afternoon's program: WIL, Women, Gender, and Sexuality Studies, or WGSS, and the Bonner Center for Civic Engagement. The Bonner Center for Civic Engagement officially opened this fall and has been a major addition to the university's educational enterprise, providing intellectual, experiential, and physical space to coordinate university volunteer, service learning, and research efforts in the Richmond community. For more information about the center and its activities, there are materials on the back table. It's been a pleasure working with the director and the program manager of the center, Douglas Hicks, and Amy Howard on this endeavor. It's also a very special year for WIL and WGSS, as both are celebrating their 25th anniversaries. That's a quarter century of commitment to the intellectual and leadership development of young women, as well as to the education of the campus and community at large about gender and diversity issues. This event is the fourth in the WIL WGSS speaker series for this year, the theme of which is Interrogating Limits, Pushing Boundaries, Artists, Academics, Activists. The WIL WGSS speaker series has always tackled difficult issues for which there are no simple solutions or even common understandings of the underlying problems. Our hope is that the series serves as a starting point for discussion and connection. We ask you to continue the discussion by taking your ideas and questions to the classroom, to the library for further research, and to your conversations with friends and others in your community. We have 3 more events to follow in the spring. Please take one of the flyers located on the back table for a description of next semester's programs. They're over there. For helping to make this afternoon's event possible, I would also like to thank the Richmond Quest, the university's Cultural Affairs Committee, the Gottwald Speakers Board, the University Chaplaincy, the Booker Chair in Religion and Ethics, the Department of English, the Office of Student Development, West Hampton College, and Julie T. in the Office of the President. I also want to thank the people who put this series together: Liz Sheehan, Assistant Director of the WIL program, Libby Gruner, a member of the English and WGSS faculties and former coordinator of WGSS, and Karen O'Connell, Administrative Assistant of the WIL program. Following Dr. Anderson's remarks, there will be time for questions. And following that, we invite everyone to stay for more conversation and a delicious reception. To introduce our speaker, I am now pleased to turn the program over to the president of the University of Richmond, Dr. William Cooper.
Thank you very much, Holly. I'm delighted to join you here today for what is certain to be a highlight of this annual lecture series, jointly sponsored by 2 of our most prominent programs, both, as Holly said, celebrating their 25th anniversary: Women Involved in Living and Learning and Women, Gender, and Sexuality Studies. I'm particularly pleased that our speaker is Dr. Belinda Anderson, president of Virginia Union University. Virginia Union is a very dynamic university with a long and venerable history. Its contributions to both undergraduate liberal arts education and graduate education are exemplary. Virginia Union has achieved much to educate some of the finest students in our city, the Commonwealth, and well beyond. We're grateful for the partnerships our 2 institutions enjoy and look forward to further collaboration. Our new Bonner Center for Civic Engagement is co-hosting this event, as Holly mentioned, and I'm confident that additional synergies will emerge from the connections initiated here today. Virginia Union is indeed fortunate to have such an able and talented president at its helm. Dr. Anderson was appointed president this May after serving as interim president for a period of 9 months. She joined the university in August 2000 as vice president for academic affairs. Prior to joining Virginia Union, Dr. Anderson served in senior positions with the State Council of Higher Education for Virginia, as Dean of the School of General and Continuing Studies at Norfolk State University, and as Director of Academic Advising at Radford University, all after she began her career as a classroom teacher in the Portsmouth and Norfolk public schools. Dr. Anderson earned an EDD in Higher Education Administration from Virginia Tech, holds an MS in History and a BS from Radford University. In 2001, she was named Radford University's Outstanding Alumna of the Year. In her talk this afternoon entitled Continuing the Quest for Equal Access in Higher Education, Dr. Anderson will discuss Virginia Union's history and current renaissance, as well as her own career as an advocate for equal access to higher education. Without further ado, I now turn the program over to our distinguished guest, Dr. Belinda Anderson.
How's everybody doing? Good, good. I'm pleased to be here, and it's always good to get away from the everyday activities of the office, and so I'm very, very pleased to be here. And I also wish to congratulate the Women Involved in Living and Learning and Women, Gender, and Sexuality Studies programs a happy 25th anniversary. And I think that's a very, very major accomplishment, and I do want to extend my congratulations to you. Your theme, Interrogating Limits, Pushing Boundaries, Artists, Academics, Activists, and Activists, is an excellent theme because to effect change means to push boundaries. In order to effect change, you've got to be able to do that. To students, and before I begin, I do want to thank my students for coming and knowing that they could have been doing anything else but listening to me. So, so I do want to thank them for coming, as well as my Vice President for Academic Affairs, who's here, and their advisors. So I want to thank them for coming as well. But I would say to you that while you are in college, you may carefully plan your careers, but 25 years later, you may not know what you may be doing. And if someone had told me 25 years ago that the Board of Trustees of Virginia Union University would name me the first female of Virginia Union University, I probably would have chuckled because that was not in the scheme of things for me. All I had ever wanted to do was teach high school, and to teach high school history, in fact, U.S. history, and that was all I ever wanted to do. But sometimes we don't know what we're going to end up doing because God has a plan for us. The main thing is that we make sure that we're prepared. I am here today to talk to you about my role as a leader and how I've advocated positive change and promoted access in higher education. Now, I mentioned positive change. All change is not good. I like to think that the change that I advocate is positive, although some would differ with me. But advocating positive change is what I am all about. So I am going to take a couple of minutes to talk to you about that, to talk to you about equal access in higher education with major emphasis on the role of historically black colleges and universities, also known as HBCUs. So if you hear me say HBCU, I am referring to historically black colleges and universities. Those institutions that were created or founded before 1964 have the distinction of carrying the title of historically black college or university. And then I'm going to talk to you about Virginia Union's institutional role in the city of Richmond. Now, I spent some time thinking about what I would say to you because I knew I would have an audience of students, and I knew I would have administrators and staff as well as faculty here. So I decided to, when I looked at artists, academicians, and activists, I said, okay, I'm not a poet, but I can borrow somebody's poem to begin what I want to say to you today. So Maya Angelou is a favorite poetess of mine. I love the poem that she has written called Still I Rise. And to me, that poem says a whole lot about equal access. And one of the things that I want to do before I begin is to read Maya Angelou's poem to you. And as I do it, I really want you to think about the terms equal access and what that means. Still I rise. You may write me down in history with your bitter, twisted lies. You may trod me in the very dirt, but still, like dust, I'll rise. Does my sassiness upset you? Why are you beset with gloom? 'Cause I walk like I've got oil wells pumping in my living room. Just like moons and like suns, with the certainty of tides. Just like hope springing high, still I'll rise. Did you want to see me broken? Bowed heads and lowered eyes. Shoulders falling down like teardrops, weakened by my soulful cries. Does my haughtiness offend you? Don't you take it awful hard. 'Cause I laugh like I've got gold mines digging in my own backyard. You may shoot me with your words. You may cut me with your eyes. You may kill me with your hatefulness, but still, like air, I'll rise. Does my sexiness upset you? Does it come as a surprise that I dance like I've got diamonds at the meeting of my thighs? Out of the huts of history's shame, I rise. Up from a past that's rooted in pain, I rise. I am a black ocean leaping and wide, welling and swelling, I bear in the tide. Leaving behind nights of terror and fear, I rise. Into a daybreak that's wonderfully clear, I rise. Bringing the gifts that my ancestors gave. I am the dream and the hope of the slave. I rise, I rise, I rise. Now, one of the reasons why I love this poem is because it reinforces to me that I have a responsibility to effect positive change. And to me, this is all about preserving historically black colleges and universities and promoting the whole issue of access. Now, when I think about my role as a leader for social change, one of the things that you do need to know is that I was not a product of an HBCU. I received my degrees from Radford University and Virginia Tech. I first became involved in the issue of equal access when I directed the undergraduate student and recruitment program, retention and recruitment program at Radford University in 1983. And I did this while I was enrolled as a graduate student at Virginia Tech. When I look back at my life, I've done some weird things, and not too weird, but to be out on my own, living on my own for 3 years, my husband and I got married, and we decided to go back to graduate school. So we moved into the residence hall at Radford. He was a resident director, and he called me the co-director. And that was one of the most interesting times of my life. For 2 years we spent living in the residence hall, so that was definitely something different in my lifetime. But I today am going to give you a brief history lesson because I am a historian by trade, and I firmly believe that in order to know thyself, one must know one's history. The year is 1954. May 17th, 1954. And the Brown versus Board of Education case is the headliner in every newspaper. Why? Because it prohibited discrimination in secondary schools. In 2004, the year 2004 is the 50th anniversary of the Brown versus Boyd decision. But the sad thing about Brown versus Boyd is that colleges and universities were unaffected. Prior to 1964, African American students could not attend majority institutions in the South. Virginia black students could not attend Virginia Tech or the University of Virginia. In fact, the first person that attended the University of Virginia was a Virginia Union University graduate. And then when I look at a decade later, in 1964, the Civil Rights Act was passed. And it's a very, very important act, and I want to read you Title VI of that because it forms the basis for equal access. And Title VI of the 1964 Civil Rights Act specifies that no person in the United States shall, on the basis of race, color, or national origin, be excluded from participation in, denied the benefits of, or be subjected to discrimination under any program or activity receiving federal financial assistance. In other words, this is basically saying that there will be no discrimination in federally assisted programs. So Title VI of the 1964 Civil Rights Act is very, very important and shapes what has happened to me over the past 20 years. Now, in 1969, and the information I'm getting ready to tell you about, you're not going to be able to just go and read as it relates to the state of Virginia, because this is information that has not, for the most part, I think, been recorded. But in 1969, the Office for Health, Education, and Welfare, later known as the Office for Civil Rights, concluded that Virginia and 9 other states were operating a racially segregated system of education that was in violation of Title VI of the Civil Rights Act of 1964. These states were Arkansas, Florida, Georgia, Louisiana, Maryland, North Carolina, Mississippi, Oklahoma, Pennsylvania, and Virginia. During this same year, these states began discussions with the Office for Civil Rights. Some of the states developed plans, but others continued to litigate. Virginia developed a plan based on OCR criteria, which consists of the following. 1, the disestablishment of the dual system and enhancement of traditional black institutions. And for the past 15 years of my life, I have been working toward enhancing traditionally black institutions, desegregation of student enrollment, and number 3, desegregation of faculty, administrative staff, non-academic personnel, and governing boards. When I was at Norfolk State University, and I was there for about 9.5 years, the president at the time said that Norfolk State University was the most integrated institution in the state of Virginia, because it had about 20% faculty staff that were considered to be non-minority. And in the state of Virginia, at that time, that was considered to be something that was very complimentary. The Commonwealth of Virginia submitted plans in 1969. Now, the institutions were required to submit plans to go along with these 3 criteria that were submitted by the Office for Civil Rights. In 1969, Virginia submitted a plan. The plan was totally rejected. And primarily because it did not address the 3 items that we mentioned, and it did not get into institutional policies on non-discrimination, admission policies and standards, academic programs, and student financial assistance. It didn't cover any of those, and it was not in line with the criteria established by OCR. Now, if we move to the 70s, in 1970, Governor Holton submitted Virginia's first real plan. In 1974, the plan was revised by Mills E. Godwin, and the components of the 1974 plan consisted of a plan that dealt with statewide components, historically black colleges and universities, and institutional plans. So that's what happened in 1974. In 1973, we've got Adams litigation going on because OCR is basically saying the states are still not in compliance with Title VI of the Civil Rights Act. So in 1978, or the 1974 plan was revised, and as it was revised, it led up to what I would be dealing with in 1983. Now, the 1974 plan that was revised consisted of enhancing goals for Norfolk State and Virginia State, the Tidewater Duplication Agreement. Those of you who are familiar with Virginia history know that Norfolk State and Old Dominion are only 15 minutes apart. One is traditionally black, one is traditionally white. So these institutions had to pull together plans where students would have to go back and forth to the institutions. They would have to take courses together, do various things to sort of desegregate those two institutions. The Department of Education began collecting data on racial compositions of the graduates. This is the first time that the state gets into numerical objectives and numerical quotas. Student scholarship programs were established for other race students, and we get into the beginning of articulation and transfer agreements with community colleges. Now, the 1974 plan was again amended in 1978 by Chuck Robb, and this plan would begin to encompass more types of items to help desegregate the state of Virginia. This plan would include undergraduate student recruitment and retention, human relations conferences, a transfer guide for the VCCS, student retention workshops, graduate student programs and conferences, transfer grant financial aid, special incentive programs for traditionally black institutions, faculty development programs, again, the enhancement of HBCUs, and a biracial advisory committee. So this was Virginia's response as plans were introduced to address the whole issue of equal access. The 1983 plan expired in 1986. In 1986, Governor Chuck Robb was responsible for putting in place another four-year plan that costed $20.8 million. So Virginia put money into the plan and really had no choice, because if it had not been done, then the state ran the risk of losing federal aid, period. Now, the last plan was submitted in 1994, and there are three components of the plan that I am going to mention to you, because even though I began working with the Student Recruitment and Retention Plan program in 1983, in 1997, I had no idea in 1983 that I would be coordinating Virginia's Equal Educational Opportunity Program. So I coordinated Virginia's statewide program. Now keep in mind that the institutions that I'm talking to you about are public institutions. Private institutions during this period in time were not affected. So my orientation has been, for the most part, with the exception of the last 4 years, public institutions. So these plans dealt mainly with the public institutions. Now, the three components that I have spent a lot of time with included the graduate student recruitment and retention program, the undergraduate student recruitment and retention program, student organizations for cooperative grants, institutional specific programs, and pre-collegiate programs. Now, these are the programs that I coordinated statewide. Now, the graduate program was one that assisted those students who were interested in pursuing degrees, master's degrees, and PhDs. Virginia awarded funds to these individuals to attend institutions. One was called the Summer Program for Undergraduate Programs. This program was created in 1978. It provided funding, and in most instances, students were paid to attend 6-week summer programs, and also got an opportunity to take courses during the summer. The Commonwealth Graduate Fellowship Program encouraged students to pursue PhD degree programs in humanities, natural sciences, or social sciences. And then we have the Dean's Graduate Award. And these are very, very important programs because they paid for the degrees, or for African Americans at this time, these programs paid for them to get their degrees. Now, the undergraduate student recruitment and retention program, this was one that was a 6-week program that was on every campus for your public community colleges. Students took this program or attended 6 weeks during the summer. They were able to live on campus. They were able to take as many as 6 credit hours toward their degree in the fall. They received student support services. I mean, and following that, they had an academic year follow-up. And in 1983, as a graduate student, I was able to direct one of these programs, and that's how I became involved with the whole issue of access. Now, I'm saying these things to you because most individuals are not familiar with the plans that were put in place to desegregate higher education in the state of Virginia, particularly as it relates to the public level. Now, when I left Radford University and I worked with the undergraduate student recruitment and retention program for 6 years, I also was indirectly responsible for that program at Norfolk State for about 9.5 years. The program at Radford was one, when I left in 1988, the retention rate for African American students was 88%, and the graduation rate was 80%. And it was higher than for the native majority population on campus. Now, when I went to SHEV, I coordinated the 3 that I talked to you about briefly, and I administered about $3 million a year in programs. In addition to the implementation phase, I was also responsible for the evaluation phase of those programs. So when we look at the state's responsibility, one of the things that I can say to you is that Virginia did make an effort, but still much needs to be done. There were 4 governors who were notified by the Office of Civil Rights that still much had to be done. Those governors were Belials, Wilder, George Allen, and James Gilmore. And Virginia was under the OCR Code until about 2001, and most people don't realize that. They were familiar with the 1973 Adams litigation, but many don't understand that Virginia was under the eye of the federal government until about the spring of 2001. And activities were being monitored. And there was a lot of stress in the state capitol regarding our progress and where we were with regard to this whole equal access process. Now, in addition to my working and spending a lot of time with these programs, I was also appointed by Governor Wilder in 1993 to a commission on access and affordability. It was a legislative commission. It was one that stayed in place for about 9 years. And this legislative commission was really responsible for OCR releasing the state from releasing it from the OCR criteria, because we had the OCR, the Office of Civil Rights, felt that we had finally met the criteria. And if it hadn't been for the creation of that commission, I don't know if we might still be operating under that. And you know, as students, you're more or less concerned with what's going on with you at the present moment. And sometimes I think you have a tendency not to understand how you got where you are today. And basically what happens is that you're where you are today because, as some would say, you're standing on the shoulders of many who came before you. It just didn't happen. And those individuals who went through this whole process years ago can tell you that it was the whole issue of equal access at times in Virginia was just not discussed. But we have made great strides, and you are the beneficiaries of that. Not only will you be the beneficiaries of it, but your heirs as well. So that's one of the things I want to point out to you regarding regarding my involvement of it. 35 minutes is not a whole lot for me to tell you all the things that I've done in the past 20 years, but I have been involved in this whole equal access picture. Now, if we take a minute and look at historically black colleges and universities and how they play into the whole picture of equal access, as I've said, for those African Americans who lived in the South, prior to 1964, these individuals were not able to go to majority white institutions. So as a result, the only options open to them if they wanted to go to institutions in the state of Virginia or the South would have been predominantly black institutions or majority institutions in the North. Now, if we look at some little-known facts about HBCUs, and I bring it up because historically black colleges are national treasures, and we have a responsibility to preserve them and to preserve their heritage. We currently have 105 that fit the criteria of having been created before 1964. HBCUs award 40% of baccalaureate degrees earned by black college students and lead the nation in awarding baccalaureate degrees in life sciences, physical sciences, mathematics, and engineering. 50% of black faculty in traditional majority research universities receive their bachelor's degrees at an HBCU. HBCUs account for 3% of all institutions of higher learning in America. HBCUs enroll 16% of all African American students in higher education. HBCUs provide 3/4 of all black officers in the armed forces and 4/5 of all black federal judges. HBCUs train 75% of black PhDs, 85% of black physicians, 46% of black business executives, 50% of black engineers, 50% of black lawyers, 40% of black dentists, 50% of black pharmacists, 75% of black veterinarians, and 53.4% of African American public school teachers. So HBCUs do a lot. Now this is an important segue into what I want to talk to you, briefly about Virginia Union and Union's institutional role in the city of Richmond. Now our mission states that we will seek to maximize the potential of individuals within the context of a challenging and nurturing academic environment, offering students the opportunity to excel as scholars and leaders, and that's what we believe at Virginia Union. Virginia Union was founded in 1865. She is the oldest HBCU in the South. At one point, she was called the Harvard of the South, and she is the 5th oldest of all HBCUs, because we have some that are not only in the South, but we have some that are in the northern states as well. In 1865, Virginia Union was founded as the Richmond Theological Institute by the African Baptist Home Mission Society to educate emancipated slaves after the Civil War. So we are affiliated with the Baptists. The institution was initially established at Lumpkin's Jail, which is located at 15th and Franklin Street. For those of you who are familiar with downtown Richmond, if you are familiar with the location of what is now the train station, used to be the health department, that's where Virginia Union was created. Lumpkin's Jail was a holding pen for runaway slaves, and that was Union's initial establishment. In 1886, Union was renamed the Richmond Theological Seminary. In 1899, she merged with Wayland Seminary and became Virginia Union University. In 1932, she merged with Hartshorne Memorial College, which is located at the present site of Maggie Walker. And this institution is important because it was the first African American women's college in the country. that was established in 1883. So Union has a very long, illustrious history. In 1964, she merged with Storer College, which is in Harpers Ferry, West Virginia. In 2000, Union was the first HBCU to go completely wireless and the second nationwide. She owns the largest African art collection of any HBCU on the East Coast, and recently our social work program was reaffirmed until the year 2011. Now currently the university, with regard to our enrollment, we have 1,750 students. 350 of those are graduate students and are from our School of Theology. We have a total of 292 faculty and staff, 84 of which are faculty. We have a $23.5 million budget, of which 90% is tuition, mainly in tuition and fees, and we contribute about $98.3 million to the tax base to the city of Richmond. The students and employees spend about $5.4 million. Our students and employees pay about $2 million in local taxes. They contribute about $426,000 to charities. Our alumni spend about $80 million. Our alumni pay about $5.4 million in taxes and contribute about $5 million annually. So with regard to union status in the city of Richmond, in addition to our other strengths, we also are the largest minority employer in the city of Richmond. Now, we are currently in the development of a 5-year strategic plan, and our current objectives are to become financially healthy, to build the university's endowment, to raise funds for scholarships, and to improve the quality of life for our students, faculty, and staff. In the future, it is my hope that we can begin to build collaborations with the University of Richmond. We're in the process of doing that with Randolph-Macon College as well as VCU, because we're here locally and we need to do more. Now, in addition to that, I have been involved, and when I do these kinds of talks, it causes me to do a little bit of self-reflection when I have to look at what it is the theme is and how I can kind of weave what I've done into what the theme of the presentation is. But I have been involved in higher ed for 20 years, and I have been on both majority and minority campuses. And I think the bottom line for those of us who are in higher education is that we have to understand what I call the me philosophy, which means if you are going to go into higher education, you're going to be involved in service-oriented professions. You're not going into these type of professions to get rich, because it's not, the money isn't there. You're going because you have a genuine desire to help others. It's not about me, and my students hear me saying it all the time, my faculty hear it, my staff hear it. It's not about me, it's about how I can help students become productive citizens. Because the main thing is, when you graduate, you want to be able to take care of yourselves. You don't want to be a burden on your parents. You don't want to be living with them. When you leave home, you should leave for good. You know, they get used to you being gone for a period of time, and you don't need to go back and impose. So if they're spending money, or if you're spending money to help you do what you want to become, then you have a responsibility as a student to take care of yourselves. So I firmly believe that when we're in professions like this, that our role is to help you, to assist you, to help you negotiate the process, and help you become productive citizens. And over the years, I have seen my students do that. And to me, every time I see one of my students do well, then it's a crown, that extra star that I have in my crown, because I feel like I've done my job, because it's not about me. And if you understand that it's not about you, then you can go about and do what you need to do, which means you don't complain. You find a way to make it happen. So I am very, very pleased to be here today. I'll be happy to answer whatever questions you have of me. I think I have sort of packed a lot of historical kind of data in a short period of time for you, but I'd be happy to expand on any questions that you might have of me. Anybody have any questions? Yes.
I think it's true that the early presidents of the university were white males. Is that true?
Well, I am the 11th. The first 3 were white males. And most individuals don't realize that about Union's history. In fact, we have students who don't realize that. But Union was founded by a white male and succeeded by 2 others. So the first 3 were white males.
The administration since has been not controlled by white population.
No, it has since been a predominantly black campus. Now, the interesting thing about Virginia Union, even though we are traditionally a black institution, our student population is about 98% black, but our faculty and staff population is 47%. So we got a balance when we look at faculty and staff, but students, we have a predominantly black population. Any other questions? Yes.
As you look at the nation from where you are here in Virginia Union, where do you see the next goal nationally? We haven't finished the job, and it looks sometimes as if we may be backsliding a little. The commitment by the current administration is perhaps to some may look a little questionable. Do you have any thoughts about what we as a nation need to accomplish in the next decade?
Well, I think that first of all, we have to develop an appreciation for diversity, because I don't think that the appreciation is where it should be. If you look at the color of the U.S. is changing, and that's going to mean a lot of different things. For example, if we look at the Hispanic population, at one point African Americans were the largest minority. That is no longer the case. So as one minority emerges to takes over, it's going to change the flavor of what's happening. Now with the Hispanic population coming on the scene, that's going to mean a lot of different things. Individuals are going to have to start learning Spanish. You're not going to be able to escape being in a situation where you only know one language. Those of us who know only English are at a true disadvantage. So I think that we're not going to be able to operate as we have for the past 18 years. We're going to have to learn how to appreciate and embrace different cultures and to embrace diversity. And until that happens, I think it's going to continue to push us backwards. And I don't think we can function in separate worlds anymore.
Do you have some Hispanic students right now among your student population? I would expect you do. Do you track that?
We don't have very many Hispanic students. No, we have the majority of our students, well, the 98% are African American students. About 62% of those are from Virginia. The rest are out of state. And then the minority of students that we have are students who are from the Czech Republic. So we don't have, in terms of, if you look at our campus and diversity, with our student body, it's not there. And I don't know what the University of Richmond's student body looks like. But I would imagine that is the flip side, flip side of what the city union is. Yes.
You mentioned that HBCUs are treasure that are very in and I totally agree. But I'm seeing it at the University of Richmond. I chose not to listen to HBCU. I definitely see the value of it. My question is, for those of us that not go to HBCUs, that graduate, that don't graduate from HBCUs, what can our role be to conserve HBCUs?
Well, I think I'll probably let one of my students answer that question. I'm gonna put one of them on the spot now. One of you all want to answer before I do? Go on, stand up.
Hi everyone, my name is Glenn Starnes. I'm a sophomore at Virginia Union. And let's start Anderson and say we're pleased to be here. As a student at HBCU, I think the first thing that other students who don't graduate and don't attend HBCUs could do is first understand, like you said, you have that understanding of what the treasure is and understand why HBCUs are actually in existence, and in some type of way affiliate yourself with an HBCU. It's always good to give back to HBCU, to give to HBCUs, because there's always that need for funding, and just give back in some type of way. Maybe if it's not only funding, after you graduate, I'm sure you'll be involved in some type of area, just go and help someone in that area. Because everyone, it'd be great if everyone went to an HBCU, but that's not everyone's thought. So that's just how I feel. I don't know about any of the other students or attitude. Thank you.
And I don't think I could have said it better. I think there are a lot of ways you can get involved. One of the aims that I have is to begin to promote the culture of HBCUs. And one of the things, as I mentioned, that we are most proud of, we have a very, very large African art collection. And we're very, very proud of that. And so what we want to be able to do is to begin to teach the individuals on our campus about their history and how they interrelated with other populations, and that's where that whole diversity piece comes in. Because I think we have to understand that, it's just like a turtle sitting on a post. He didn't get there by himself. There were others involved in the process. So we have to understand that, and that's how you can give back, but just becoming involved and understanding how HBCUs work. I don't think we're any different than any other institution. We do the same kind of things. We're probably no different than University of Richmond. It's just the color of the population. What drove us in terms of the founding issues and missions. Any other questions? Yes. Now, Randolph-Macon, she's interested in knowing what collaborations that we're going to enter into with Randolph-Macon and VCU. Right now, Randolph-Macon is interested in a number of programs with us. Randolph-Macon is smaller than we are, believe it or not. We're 1,750, and I think Randolph-Macon is right around 1,000. So they're interested in us possibly exchanging courses. They want, because they have classes that are small for juniors and seniors, and probably, I don't know if University of Richmond does this, but we do. If you don't have X number of students in a class, we cancel that class because it's not economically feasible. So they're looking at ways in which we can begin to run shuttles so that students can take courses at our institution and their institution. They're also interested in us working together on grants and research opportunities, because funding is out there for institutions that want to do research, and they like to see partnerships between HBCUs and majority institutions. They want to see that. So everybody now is looking for money. And being a private institution, you know how it is. You're always out there asking individuals for money because the majority of the income that comes into the institution is through tuition and fees. So as a result of that, we're always looking for money. So we're looking for ways to write grants and those kind of things to bring it. Now, with VCU, we have a course consortium where students can take courses. We have that on their campus and our campus. We also have, because we have our School of Theology, we have an arrangement with the psychology program and a couple of others where we are assisting with chaplains. So we have that. We have individuals who've done some collaborative work on grants. And so we're in the process of looking at the whole issue of safety, community policing, because we're about 5 minutes away from VCU. Our students party with VCU students all the time, and we play each other. We play each other in basketball, and so we're beginning to do some things because I think it's very important that students from other institutions in the same city get together and do things, and that's one of the reasons why we're just opening the doors and saying, hey, we're interested in working with you. What are some ways in which the University of Richmond, oh, you have a comment?
No, I was going to ask, I think the same question that you were going to ask. What are some ways, directly to the students, I guess, here at University of Richmond, that the students at Virginia Union can collaborate with you all, or what are some areas in which you think that we could come together and work on some things? Is that the same question?
That was the same question.
Or if there are any.
Okay.
Well, I don't know exactly what for my intention sophomore anymore. I haven't really experienced HBCUs from New York City, and not even sure we have any HBCUs in the state.
We have 5.
Gosh.
You have Hampton University, Norfolk State.
And New York City.
Oh, New York, oh, no. You don't really have HBCUs in the north. You find them concentrated mainly in the south.
Yeah. So I guess I don't know. I just want to be immersed in the culture. I feel like even though I love University of Richmond, I feel like this a lack of certain culture that my friend goes to Norfolk State, and just the things that they do, celebrations of different diverse cultures and just African American history, and just the things that we talk about on a regular basis. Even though we try our best to do things like that in the classroom, but I don't know exactly what to say about what you guys do on your campus, but I'm really curious to see what you guys do and maybe bring that here.
What is, yes.
I'm a sophomore at U of R. I'm in Jefferson School of Leadership. And as I'm looking around the room, I know that a lot of us are all part of the same class, service to society. I'm not quite sure what the name is for next semester. But the requirement of the class is 30 community service hours. And right now, as you can probably tell, U of R is not too diverse. When we go out to do service, it is strictly service. We go to our site. I tutor Razzo. It's a school in Churchill. I go over and I tutor second and third graders, and then I get to come back to the U of R to my comfort zone. Those kids do not get to leave. By joining up with Junior Union and with the U of R, maybe the service site or the service experience can become more than just simply service. It's a way, for us to create a relationship with each other and see how do we both sides of things, so that way it's just not service, it actually is an experience that, that you can take outside of the classroom and carry with us for the rest of our, of our life. Maybe that's one way that we can maybe collaborate between the two schools.
And it's great that you're coming up with questions like that because my SGA reps are here. And, and so they're taking notes because, I want us to branch out and work collaboratively. My Vice President for Academic Affairs, Ms. Vanessa.
Hi, everybody. It's really nice to be on your campus. One of the things we talked about last week with the President and the Cabinet of Virginia Commonwealth was opening our chapel services. Every Thursday at 11 o'clock, we have chapel, and it is, a Black experience, let me tell you. And, so for the African American students or any other student who want to experience that cultural and spiritual experience, every Thursday, 11 o'clock, it's there, and there's room, come by, and it's a wonderful experience. In addition, check our website because we are constantly having various cultural activities, and they are on the website. The African Museum is in our library, and tours are available on a daily basis. We invite you to come for that. And I think it's just a matter of us, talking more and sharing what's going on.
My name is Tina Carroll. I am the president of the Student Government Association at Virginia Union. And like you said, the comfort zone, I would be excited to have you guys come so that you guys know me now. You guys know someone. And we'll be happy to have you guys make our home your home for the time being.
Yes.
And one last thing, I'm also part of Ms. Coker's Director of Leadership Development on campus, and we do a lot of leadership activities outside of Virginia and in collaboration with, I'm sure you all have a student leadership development program or something similar to that, kind of working together in some type of way in leadership. These are two things that I think we were.
Any other questions? Yes.
I don't actually have a question, but I just had a quick comment. I just wanted to, one, thank you very much for coming, because I think that we get caught up in our worlds and we don't know what's right at our doorstep. The resources that we have, the opportunities that we have, and one of the things that HBCUs offer is an opportunity for other disenfranchised communities to learn how to navigate in a power structure that might disenfranchise them. And it's something that, as a woman of color who's not African American, I've worked very hard to think about those issues, about how does one, there's a lot to learn. We don't have to follow the same road. We can change that experience, one, but also I'd like to thank you for the amount of generosity that you and your colleagues and students have shown in reaching out and making those connections, because that's something that doesn't happen easily or quickly for a lot of people. So I just wanted to thank you very much for that generosity.
Well, we've enjoyed coming, and I'm just very, very pleased with my students who are here, because one of the things that you mentioned, we do give them opportunities to become involved. And I would say that one of the strengths that Union has among all the others that we have is that we do provide opportunities for leadership, and that we train some very, very important leaders. If you look at the current mayor of Richmond, the Union grad, we have 2 members in our General Assembly, Senator Benny Lambert and Henry Marsh. We have just a whole host of individuals who have gone on and done very, very well in leadership positions. So our kids, I like to expose them as much as possible, and my staff's the same way. I have invited my SGA to our strategic planning meeting, and they have been coming religiously. And they, if nothing else, the SGA rep knows that we do more. What did she say to me? I now know that administrators don't play. Because I think the conception was that, when you're in administration, you're not doing a whole lot. And so, if nothing else, I think the first retreat that she attended dispelled that notion, because she probably slept a week after that 2-day retreat. So, you know, we want to give them opportunities to be able to do things when we are having different things like convocations and whatever we're having on campus. I always want to have one of our students there to introduce. I always want them to do something, because if they don't do it, if they can't get up before a crowd of 5, 6, 7, 800 people, you can't expect them to be able to do it when they graduate if they have not had the exposure. So whenever we got the opportunity to expose, that's exactly what we do. And we do have faculty and staff who mentor our students. So we do a lot of that on campus as well. And on Union's campus, the sky's the limit. You just got to want to do it. And I tell my kids that well, I won't say kids because you are definitive to kids, my students. I tell them all the time that they've got to show the interest. If they're interested, then we're going to do what we can to help them negotiate the process. But I also tell my students that when you want to talk to us, I'm not interested in gripe sessions. Bring your solutions with you, and then we can talk. If you have no solutions, I don't have time for you, and they know that. So bring them with you, and we'll talk about it. So they have opportunities to talk to us. I mean, you know, we're not large to the point where they can't see us when they want to, but I also expect them to go to the chamber thing. And they have to understand that structure is very, very important. And so giving them opportunities to interact, to lead, helps them to become more productive citizens. And that's what I think is very, very important. Anybody else have any questions or comments? Well, this has been really great. I'm just glad sometimes for the opportunity to get out of the office.
Again, thank you so much, and I'm thrilled to say that we can all remain here in this room and begin that process of making connections over food that I think is over there now. So please stay. There's also information about Virginia Union at the back tables, along with the speaker series information and the Center for Civic Engagement information. And I'll also, in case you want to connect and swap emails or addresses, I'll leave a pad of paper and my pen just up here in case you want paper and pen. Okay, so please enjoy the reception.